Hey, I'm not sure if this is going to make a full episode or not, but I figure I would try an experiment. I was not going to record this originally, but I figured it might be interesting just to see how I might tackle this, and at the end I'll decide if I publish this or not. But in the last episode, I talked a little bit about creating a style guide, because we've got to a place where, okay, things are looking like an IDE, but the spacing's all over the place. There's, the padding is different. It just doesn't feel coherent, and that's in part because I've not given it a style guide. I just didn't. So we've got a bit of an incoherent situation with the styling of it. And I figured I would essentially see if I could get Claude to create a style guide. So I have loaded up Claude, and I'm going to write a basic prompt to give it some screenshots. So actually I'm going to do it in Visual Studio Code, because we all know I often press the wrong keys in Claude. So our application has grown, but visually it now looks quite inconsistent. We have different paddings, spacings, things don't quite line up correctly. I want you to look at the attached screenshots and create a style guide that will enable us to unify the visuals and tidy things up. After creating the style guide, in the next phase I will ask you to apply the style guide. The use of zinc is generally where we want to be. You should consider the typography and padding of elements as a primary way to suggest importance and structure. Okay, so I want to give it that prompt, and I've captured a couple of screenshots. So I've got one that is of the main window, and it'd be interesting if it can note that these things are not lined up. Again, this is a bit of an experiment, and I've got one of the debugger, which again, that's a bit better, but yeah, I'm going to feed all that to it and say, I've also got another of the console, but I'm worried that this thing, the sort of thing on the left, the console view, will skew its view of the visuals, because that doesn't really form part of the framework, so I'm not going to give it that one. So let's take this. Actually, I'm a bit more specific. Create the style guide here. And sorry, it's based on Tailwind. Style guide here, and I'm just going to go to WebStorm. We'll copy our client folder and call it styleguide.md. Okay, okay, so let's grab that. Let's put it in here. You should read the source in the source folder, and also look at the screenshots attached. Okay. So this is pretty vague, right? This is a little bit vague, and I'm not, this is definitely an experiment. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. It's definitely an experiment. I think I'll have to snip here and then come back in a few minutes, but we'll see. Okay, so it's done. It's created the style guide. I kind of watched it rumble through. Let's see what's created. So we should have in here styleguide.md. It shouldn't be too big, but it's quite a bit of size into it. Look. Okay, so I am definitely not a designer. I work with a couple of people who do a much better job of this than I, and would probably look at this and go, this is terrible, this is not how you recommend style, or this is great, this is how you recommend style. Okay. But it looks pretty sensible. So the next thing I'm going to ask it to do, I'm just going to let it roll. So this is a bit of an experiment. The next thing I'm asking it to do is to basically create some semantic CSS, so that we don't write that everywhere, we write that everywhere, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me save that. Okay. Okay, now using this, can you create some semantic CSS classes using Tailwind's apply? It is apply, isn't it? We'll have some in here. Oh, we don't have any. Okay, we've not done any. Have we got any on the outer, right at the outside? I'm confusing myself with a work project. Okay, not to worry. Apply system, so that we don't write bg-zinc, what was it? As a class everywhere, but rather we would write primary dk, I want to put a little prefix on it, dk-primary background, with dk being a prefix for us to isolate our styles. This should also more complex styles, so that becomes, for example, dk-page title. Can you create this in a CSS file, semantic.css, and import this file into our index.css so it is available to the product. Okay, let's see if it can do this. I'm pretty sure it can do this, just from things I've done, for example, with palettes in this system already. But the idea is to, there's a couple of ways you can go about using Tailwind, in my humble opinion. One way is a more sort of, I guess, well, I mean, both you plan, but one way is to go really kind of aggressive on your componentization, so that page title is always a component, and you kind of embed the CSS inside there. The other way is you create rolled up CSS classes, and then use those for your system, and you don't componentize as aggressively. In reality, you probably end up using a mixture of both. Most of the things, for example, I would say that I work on land somewhere between those. They don't land in a sort of extreme place. They are quite heavily componentized. I prefer to componentize quite aggressively, but I also don't want to be searching and pressing against 10 components for bg zinc dash. So I will tend to create a file like this that rolls Tailwind up, and for me that's a happy middle ground. And I tend to I don't always do this on day one of a new project or a new piece of UI, because it's just an additional sort of overhead to maintain. So I'll work through my my UI, and as I go, I'm using Tailwind quite organically. But at some point, and I've probably already got a bunch of these things already defined, but I'm doing it quite organically. At some point, I look at it and go, this isn't that maintainable anymore, and pull it out. I'm not I wouldn't describe myself as a UI developer. I mean, I do write UI. Ironically, I've written quite a lot in the last 3 months using Angular, which I'm not a fan of. I've probably ranted about that before on this series. I'm not a fan of, but yes, I use Angular. Okay, so it's done what we hoped. It's created our CSS. Our CSS thing is running still. Okay, so can't apply only. Okay, let me just restart things because it might not include a file in the bundle. Okay, yeah, I think it's just not included a file in the bundle. Okay, oh no, it's not. We're getting errors. Okay, so let's go back to Claude. So this is definitely an experiment. I've never tried it, to be honest. I've always just kind of gone back to tables built in utilities. Interesting. I mean, it would kind of make sense to roll up your own too, but I never have. You learn something new every day. Slightly annoying though, when you think about it. It would make sense to. It'd probably be helpful to be able to use those yourself. No doubt, it wouldn't surprise me there's something out there that lets you, but. Pardon me, I don't really want to go there in this episode. Assuming this becomes an episode. It's showing promise. It's showing promise. But this is somewhat of an experiment. Okay, let's refresh our dev server. Interesting. Quite bumbles away. Let me just restart it. Yeah, okay. Is it straight into Bootstrap? Is that Bootstrap? BJ Basti-50. Cool, great. Okay, but we've not applied the style guide. So we've now created a semantic. Well, I guess semantic's probably the wrong word, so it'll tell me off for using that word. But we've created a style guide. Let's just go into our React guidelines, and before I commit to the style guide, okay, so rather than our tiny little style guide that we had, we've got an actual style guide now, so I'll ask it to use it. Actually, I can put a local path. Okay, I'm just going to commit this stuff as per usual. Okay, let's push that up, and now let's see if we can get Claude to apply it. So this isn't massively dissimilar to what I asked Claude to do recently for me, which worked surprisingly well. I've got on my it's on my website. Sorry, shameless plug. A while ago, I wrote this game, 8-Bit Golf, and it's based on all the classic 8-bits. Runs on the iPad. the Mac and the iPhone. So Mac devices, I did it in Swift and Swift UI, and I created it as a Mac Catalyst app, which if you know about the Mac stuff, it's the stuff that lets you use the iOS UI kit stuff on your Mac, which makes it really easy to build something that works on both platforms without lots of hash ifs and stuff like that. Great, but there's a couple of problems with it. One is I found on Mac there's places, and the user reported this, like the swing meter, kind of important. There's a slight lag on it on the Mac, which is just annoying. And getting the keyboard to work reliably in UIKit is not great, because obviously iOS is not really designed for keyboard as a primary input, and I wanted the keyboard to be able to control, the mouse, the aim and things like that. So it wasn't great. So I asked Claude to essentially convert it, to keep the iOS code there, but convert it over to be an actual Mac app using the original, I can't remember what to call it, but the NS classes and all that stuff, the original, the next step Mac, to be a native Mac app. And it took a while, and I had to sort of prod it along a few times, but it was really, it did it. I mean, it managed to convert a fair sized app, because it also has a course designer in it. I haven't quite finished the course designing yet in terms of converting it, but it managed to convert it to a native Mac app, and then the keyboard stuff works great now. So I've nearly finished doing that. But similarly, I asked it to retrofit a bunch of stuff to I asked it to retrofit a bunch of stuff to a fairly large project, and the golf game is fairly large. But it did it, and all I've got left to do is a little bit of work with it on the course designer. There's some stuff that's upside down to do with coordinate systems being different and things like that, but it's basically there, and I'm hoping I can release a new update hopefully this side of Christmas, that includes some more courses and is a native Mac app and supports keyboard properly, and that'd be great. Anyway, if you want to download it, if you love 8-bit golf games like me, that is, it's a free download with no advertising or any crazy stuff in it. I hate all that stuff, as you probably gathered from my rants so far on this series. I'm not really into that. I don't like that stuff. It's just a completely free app. You can download it and relive the glory days of golf games. I used to love those golf games back in the day when they were kind of simple. And I've kind of based it on a BBC game called Hold Out was my main inspiration. I used to love that game, and that's one of the visuals you can see here. The Acorn Archimedes had a really beautiful version of it, which I think still looks really striking, which I took inspiration from that there. And I've called it 8-bit golf, but really it's sort of 8 and 32-bit golf, I suppose. But the Archimedes golf was basically just a direct port with a graphic buff up of the BBC version. But also, I used to love the early PC games, which is what that is there, and the C64. I've not done the Spectrum yet, just because that's a little bit more fiddly. It didn't look as striking, but a couple of people have asked for it, so maybe I'll do a Spectrum skin for it too. Anyway, completely free app, and it's kind of fun. And I've filled in some time while this thing is doing its thing. I'll undoubtedly have to snip here. Other fun things, you can always go to my website and have a look, but another really super fun thing to work on was Wolfenstein. I basically converted Wolfenstein. Where's my face? I converted Wolfenstein to run in the browser using F#, and have I got it hosted online here? Oh yeah, here we go. It looks like it's got a little bit of a problem on the latest browser. That's not good. I'll have to go and look at that. Oh dear, I have to fix that. That's just not quite sized right. Ah, there you go. Okay, so there's something gone a little bit awry here, but I'll go and fix. There is sound. I might have sound to that. There we go. Yeah, I'll stop from my back. Hit a shortcut. I almost had those disabled in the past. Yeah, but it's Wolfenstein 3D, and it doesn't use WebGL or anything. It's I really need to fix that sizing. I think I know what I've done. I've reworked my blog, and this sits inside my blog. But anyway, it's super fun, and it's basically F# using the Fable F# to JavaScript transpiler, and it renders old style. So it's not using WebGL or anything. It just uses 2D canvas and essentially manipulates the bytes in the same way that the original game did. It reads the game files, the map files and graphic files and things. It was super fun to work on. And actually I built that when Rafi, my dog, was a pup, and she obviously slept a lot, as puppies do. Well, actually she had to be helped to sleep. She was a very very full-on puppy. But when she was having her rest breaks, I was working on Wolfenstein 3D at my table downstairs, and yeah, I wrote a lot of it back then, which I guess is it's nearly 4 years ago, but I wrote that. Yeah, I love F#, I should say as well. I think it's a beautiful language, really beautiful language. It's a shame it's so niche. I certainly prefer it to C#, which is a dog's dinner these days. A bunch of stuff thrown together without any philosophy, and half of it just doesn't hang together. It just doesn't hang together. Yeah, not a fan. Like using records without discriminated unions just becomes, I just find weird. It's just not quite there for immutable stuff, and the patterns aren't around. So, oh yeah, if we just introduce an immutable type, they think they're done, and it's just not the case. It's all the stuff that goes with it that makes it work, and yeah, it's not nice. It's not nice. The fact you still need classes for everything. Functions aren't really first-class citizens. They try and pretend that they are sometimes, and it's just, I think it's a dog's dinner, an absolute dog's dinner these days. In fact, it's worse than dog's dinner, because my dog's dinner smells quite nice. Yeah, but C# does not smell nice to me anymore. Not a fan. Which I guess is why I mostly use TypeScript these days. I like TypeScript, and it's also convenient. It's just in the browser, works in the browser. Just convenient, yeah, no compiling and stuff. Yeah, I've got some ideas for what I might do after an 8-bit console, which I might need to do native stuff for. I haven't decided yet to do it in the browser or native. We'll see. Anyway, I've rambled away. And in the background it's done. Let's brace for impact. And see what's happened. Okay, well, it doesn't look garbage. Do I need to refresh it? Is it just not refreshed? It doesn't look garbage. Whatever it's done, it's applied the styles. I think things are still not quite right. Let's check it's actually compiled. Let's just... it's not ruined it. I'm not sure it's not corrected some of the flaws I think it had, but it's not ruined it. We'll look at the CSS in a minute. Main.asm run. Okay, right, it's still got a giant button up here. That button's different to that. It's not fixed the issues, but it looks like it's run through a better set of styles. Not changed this file at all, which is interesting. It's done the app toolbar. I mean, things are better than they were, I would say. It looks a little bit easier to work with. Button prime reads. It's not quite where I would want it, so I'm going to get some specific things to correct now. Okay, let's go back to Edge. Let's just capture areas. And Go to Claude. Okay. Oh, that won't work. I did a. You can't paste an image in. It's a little bit annoying actually. I find you can't paste an image in. You have to capture the screenshot and drag it in, which is just really annoying. Here we go. This is the right one. Okay. If you use it in the JetBrains IDE, you can paste, as I recall, but I find the JetBrains integration is still doing strange things. I was using it a lot in the week, and it was looking at the wrong files, and the tooling that connects it to the editor just seems off at the moment. It doesn't seem to work. Yeah, not great. So, I mean, I assume that's what it is, because Claude is Claude and Claude Code is Claude Code, and we're using that same set of tools for evaluating the source, but how they start it up and how they frame it in the editor, whether that's Claude or JetBrains. I'm assuming it's JetBrains and how they've integrated Claude into JetBrains, but how they've done that, it just doesn't seem to work reliably. Very padded. Just tried to do the capture again. Yeah, maybe I should try the JetBrains stuff here. It might work better, but I've got the context now in Claude, so in Claude Terminal. So let's continue with it. Yeah, and the update stuff in JetBrains seems off at the moment. Like, it's first saying to me update JetBrains AI, and I update it, and it's still saying update JetBrains AI. It seems really rushed. For implementation, seems incredibly rushed. Yeah, it's annoying. It's not quite annoying enough to drive me to VS Code, but it's annoying. I like the JetBrains stuff. I like it that it's consistent across languages, and if you work in multiple languages like I do, it's great. It's consistent. Tooling's pretty good. Editors are pretty good. It's all pretty good. But every now and then, you get the sense that they're overstretched. They're doing too much. There was a WebStorm issue, I think last year. It was something to do with the debugger not working properly. It took like 2 months to fix, and yeah, the debugger didn't work with the latest version of React, and it took like 2 months to fix. And it's like, you can't take 2 months to have WebStorm not working with the probably the most popular UI framework. You can't do that. That's me. Oh, let's made a right mess of that, I would say. Okay, you've made a right mess of that. Okay. Made a right mess of that. I must admit, I can sometimes be shockingly rude to the AI. You have those days if you're working with a lot where it just This one? No. That one. Well, it just you see like you're going nowhere, and I might end up here with this. But I'm just like, no, I'm just going to go and do this myself, and you end up going around in circles, and you realise that although sometimes they seem intelligent, they are shockingly dumb. Yeah. Well, I guess this episode's going to be a bit full of my ramblings and rantings, which I don't know. We'll see what happens if people like, no, you're an idiot, shut up. We'll give it a go. I think we'll publish this out as an episode. Maybe I just didn't refresh it. I did refresh it. It's not right. Okay, so that's a bit of a stretch for it. Clearly a bit of a stretch for it. It's not working. So we'll have to do something like that. Yeah, you've not actually fixed it. Okay. Yeah, we need to get that text box down to the same height of the buttons. If a kraken awakes. The postman is probably within 100 metres of our house. I think it's fine, it's not raining, so when I finish recording this, we're going to go out. Okay, better. It's still slightly off. It's not perfect, but I can tweak that, I think. Let me open the file again. Yeah, it's still slightly off, but it's better than it was. Okay, I'm going to skip one thing. Why? See if we can get to just fix the fact that the toolbars are not the same height. I'm going to give this one more go. Better. Things like that drive me mad. They drive me mad. And also, are the colours different? Or is it? No, I think they are the same. It's just the text box makes it. It's one of those optical illusions where the text box makes this look a different colour to that. Yeah, I'm not a UI designer by any means, but UI being off drives me crazy. Particularly as things start to feel more tight, the little things not being quite right seem to leap out more at me. Yeah, but little things like that leap out at me more. Let's just have like a web storm a sec, so no one else has my rambles. Yeah, so we've got some, I think this is better now. It's less jangly CSS everywhere. So I'm not going to suggest it's perfect. it's better than it was. I mean, we had tailwind everywhere, which starts to become unmaintainable quite quickly. And I think we'll, as we move forward, doubtless we'll iterate on this further. So I don't like that particularly. But it's just text. I can live with that. It's not a core layout. Yeah, see that I don't like. Sure, warning banners. It's not quite done a good enough job for me yet. And this is what I found interesting. This is what I found. I mentioned the golf game. The golf game, I had to. Overall, it saved me tons of time, and I think this is still going to save me tons of time. I'm not going to do all of this on camera, so I have to do a few iterations. But I found I had to. It would not do things. Literally, it would just not do certain files for whatever reason. There was no obvious reason it had skipped a file, but it would skip a file, and you'd have to go. Now, can you look at this file? Now, can you look at this file? Okay, that's done it now. Hurrah! Okay, that's in a better place. Was it the border? I'm just curious. Yeah. So the border was making it look big. The border on the text box adds height, and the buttons didn't have borders, so they were smaller, and it wasn't quite seeing that. And this is why, again, you still need to understand. I mean, I say I'm not a CSS expert, but you need to understand how layout works in CSS to help the AI make the change you want. And sometimes it might be quicker for me to go into it and do it. But when you're in a bit of a flow with the AI and you're rambling away like I am, it's a bit easier to ask the AI. But to get the AI to fix that, I had to have a pretty decent idea of why it wasn't quite getting there and tell it. You still need to understand. You still need to understand what's at the bottom of these things. You can't just say to the AI, "Do this," and it doesn't magically do what you want. You can get a good way there, but not all the way there. And again, it's back to that. And this is where we get to the chicken and egg with AI. To know that border might be causing the issue there, you have to have had experienced that issue before. You probably encountered it and tried to debug it yourself. How do you get that experience if you're using AI first? That is not clear. Looks like I've included my last name. Yeah, that's not clear how you get that experience first. And that's going to be a challenge in the industry going forwards as people kind of age out, shall we say? As people who've got the sort of handcrafting experience leave the industry, retirement, fed up of it, whatever. How do you replace people if the expectation is of using AI from day one, which a lot of businesses are now kind of forcing on some people. And I'm not saying I don't have an answer to it. I don't have an answer to it. AI is a multiplier of productivity, but it requires experience to use well. And I don't see it getting to a point where you don't need experience to use it well. It just doesn't know. It doesn't know things. It's not artificial general intelligence. In fact, it's not what I would call intelligence at all. It's a predictive engine, and you have to help it with its predictions. So that's one of the challenges we've got. In the next few years to contend with. We'll see. That's going to take a different screenshot actually. Style to size like. It's not quite why I wanted it. Okay. That's me. Ooh. put the image in twice. It'll be alright. Yeah, this will probably be quite a short episode by series standards, I think, but hopefully, it shows the other way you can use AI or LLMs, which is kind of in reverse. Like, we've got some code and we've used AI to help us tidy up the code, and we've not got to a finished state, but we've got to a better state, and we can continue working with the AI to improve it further, and we can do stuff by hand. To get to where we want it to be. I suspect I will end up doing a bit more of both. A bit more of both, which is fine. Great, that looks better already. Look. Oh, I'm much happier with this UI now. It was driving me crazy, just things being off, out of alignment. Oh, hurts my head. So let's use the layout header. Great. Okay, new chat. Okay, great. Much happy with that. Okay, one last change. I want to make disabled buttons darker than active buttons. Current colour. I like that. Okay. It's a bit weird that the dark button style is lighter than the active button style. Not a great UI pattern, I think it's fair to say. That looks better. Okay, great. Nice simple one. I might have to make it slightly lighter. Okay, could you make it... How lazy. I could have popped up in the source file. No, not 80. Stop, no. Lazy and wrong. That was dangerous. Oh dear, oh dear. That makes it the same as the background. Do we like that? No. Not quite right. I have to say, obviously, in this, I'm not really thinking about colour sight impediments. What do you call it? Being colourblind. Struggling with certain colours and contrasts, and I probably ought to. Again, so perhaps we could tighten up in a future episode. This is a hobby project, and there's only so much time. Whether it's a professional project, we need to be thinking, about those kind of things. Is it accessible to people? We've obviously not thought about areas and things. I don't know if I'm saying that word right either, but making sure that things are available to screen readers and things like that. But perhaps in a future episode we'll see if we can get Claude to help us with that too. I think I prefer it as 800 actually. I prefer it with no border there. Yeah. Gee. Yeah, fine. Yeah, but once this is done, I think we'll leave that there for this episode. I'll commit this code, and I gotta say we've taken a different approach here. We've kind of gone backwards, and it worked really well for me on the golf app. It worked really well. It was a really interesting technique, and it succeeded far better than I thought it would. When I did the golf kit thing, I was actually on holiday. I was from the Peak District, and I just had a bit of time in an evening. One evening, I was like, why don't I see if Claude can do this for me? Because I really did not fancy doing it myself. And yeah, it did a pretty credible job. So that was great. Yeah. Let's update the style guide too. Awesome. Okay, great. Let's leave it there. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode, where I think we will start to add a graphic editor. We'll do the sprite editor, and then we can start displaying sprites using sprite hardware rather than manipulating the linear frame buffer directly, which will be a lot more efficient, because it will effectively be done in hardware, and the code will just be saying put this sprite here, and we'll get some collision detection going and things like that too. So yeah, I hope that's interesting, and I will see you in the next episode.